Luca Nation. Yesterday, Cage knew I was driving from Florida back to Philly for the national. It's National Week. Hope you guys are all as excited as we are. But he's like, if I have to do this at 1 a.m., it's no problem. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
You wake me up at 2 a.m., I'm ready to go. I could do this. So we're about to find out if that is in fact true.
You know it's true. But I have one
sleeping.
question for you because people, no way, dude. I had a great day today. Hung out at the pool, had some friends over, people who were excited about cigar night and want to be a long-time listener, Dana Vanessa 85, who I've done episodes from their house.
She has two first names.
I think that's probably her middle name. They were over and, kids played, went in the pool. It's 127 degrees here. They heard all about cigar night and were like, I think I have to come. It was like, it was fun stuff. It was a fun day and, just watch some TV. My kids are asleep. They'll go to camp tomorrow. But I have one big question for you because I got some great messages after yesterday's episode. People telling me how on their drive up, they could tell me that the reptile spot is still there at south of the border and that they took their kids there as a rest stop and fed the snakes and the gators. So did you see any signs for south of the border?
Well, everyone sees signs.
Did you see signs for south of the border, though?
I see signs.
Yeah. You see signs of life. I know. You see signs like of the Martians.
I don't love stopping. I'm a city, there's a lot of weird people in America. You stop in some of these places, 100 miles north of Jacksonville.
Yes. There's some interesting places.
This guy comes in, it's 8, 9 a.m. at McDonald's in a beater, Levi's jeans, and cowboy boots.
Okay. Sounds like a fine American.
You're probably right. It was a shit show.
You judged him based on wearing a beater, Levi's, and cowboy boots. Maybe it was like Garth Brooks.
It was a scene, man. It was a scene. It was like that Curb Your Enthusiasm music that would be playing. That would work really well. One guy was enormously huge, and this other guy next to him was enormously tiny.
Okay, so you had an interesting trip.
I don't like stopping. I was ready to I got $15 worth of food. I ate hash browns.
Hash browns are a good time.
They're delicious. I was about to just leave because it was so weird. I was like, just keep my food.
So
give me the coffee.
The haircut looks good. But here's what I want to know. Did you see signs for south of the border, damn it?
Everyone sees signs unless you're blind, and then you shouldn't be driving on the highway.
Okay, good. So you saw the signs for that. Everyone sees signs. You sound like you're being philosophical, signs, karmic signs.
Driving for 19 hours will have you in your,
Yeah, I guess. So I'll ground us then. This, believe it or not, is our 50th episode of the Fractional Report, brought to you by Collectable before the opening bell. 50. We've done 50 of these now. This is our 50th one, a momentous one. And I got to tell you, if you have money on the platform, if you are listening to this before the opening bell, of all of the 50 of these that we've done, this may be the one I would tell you to be the most excited for. Maybe a close second is the time that the Mickey Mantle card, the Mickey Mantle 8, there was an auction, it was a comp, and you were like, you got to get on there. There's going to be a sale. And then, boom, it exploded the next morning because there was just a comp sale. So possibly that one is a close comparison. But we can go through the numbers, and then I'll tell you why I would be excited.
This is a busy week, Cage. People are traveling. They're going to be. They don't have a lot of time. Let's cut to the chase. Why do you say that?
Okay,
I also have a theory of what's going on with the market, but
let's hear your overall market. Then I'll give two very specific items. If you
I think we're seeing a downturn in these higher end collectibles. We saw that across the board with PWCC Weekly, with the PWCC Premier. I think that the tier that's $500 to 5,000. This 5,000 to 20,000, and at 20,000 to 50,000, that's one type of buyer. the buyer that's premier worthy is often buying for it, showing it off as
Mm-hmm.
much as it is investment. The market that I just talked about, 500 to 5,000, 5,000 to 20, and 20 to 50, is very strong. There's a lot of buyers in that market. Yes, there's been a correction, but there's a lot of liquidity, right? We talk about that word a lot. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of buyers. And I think that's really in that range, that 500 bucks to 50,000, and you
Mm-hmm.
can tier it into three tiers. That's a collector base, in my opinion. That's true collector base.
Okay. And the higher items, the higher priced items, they're like show off pieces
A lot of those
for.
guys come and go that buy those items.
Okay. So I am going to tell you two items that I think, are cause for excitement. Number one, we're going to start off slow and then we're going to build as a crescendo, like my fourth grade band professor, Mr. Trent Acosta, used to say. I got to get the crescendo.
You were probably a sax player.
I wish. No. I wanted to play the trumpet. I wanted to play, the trumpet. And my band teacher brought me up on stage and said I had first pick of whatever instrument I want. I said trumpet. He said hold your arms out like this. I held out my arms. I have like John Jones size reach with my arms, and he says you will play the trombone. It was a horrible story.
You have really long wingspan.
Yeah, I have a very long wingspan.
I'm in love with wingspan. How come you're just telling me this now? Like my favorite players are guys with huge wingspan.
So my wingspan is actually 78 inches. Even though I'm 6'1", it's approximately 6'6" my wingspan. So it's definitely 6 inches more than it. But remember, I got injured and stopped growing because I got the femur knocked out of my hip. I got injured. Now I have spikes holding my hip together right on my growth plate. That stopped the growth.
You could probably put your socks on easily though.
So yeah, I can definitely put my socks on pretty easy. I have very long arms. So anyway, point being, we're having some fun here. The one item, the lead in, and then there's a big one, right? The one item in the PWCC Premier auction this past week, a Wayne Gretzky OPC PSA 9 rookie sold for $144,000, I believe. Not the greatest copy, not a new slab, you name it. And I think it's important to take a look at the Gretzky and the Jordan PSA 10 are comparable cards. They are, top cards of GOAT players. They're not rare cards per se, but they're rare in their high grades, right? There's like 1 or 2 10s, right? And there's, not as many. What I've noticed, though, that OPC 9, there are less of those than the Jordan 10. And a bunch have come for sale. And what happens is when a bunch come for sale, it eventually hits the end of the road. It eventually hits the end of that supply at that level, and it starts to take another leg up. We've seen a bunch of those transact recently. I even, called one out that sold on alt for under $100,000, and that had a ripple effect on the item that is currently on Collectable. But now with 144, the collectible item is significantly lower than that. So that's just one. It's one item that I expect to see some movement on Monday. People who listen to us and get kind of like that advance notice of, hey, here's a comp that people might not have noticed. You get to see that particular item move. But there's one other. Go ahead.
You know how you say, Andrew, you're a Kobe expert. That's your market. Tell me about the Kobe market. Mason jar, fancy.
Hell yeah.
Wow. Oh, did you move to Brooklyn?
No, I always drink out of these before Brooklyn people did.
Your niche, your expertise, and this is for Luca Nation to kind of understand. Cage knows the base rookie market of like the 80s in a high grade. He knows that market so well.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't, the PMGs, the gold prism, the gold chrome, that's a newfound love.
Yep.
That's a love that you found in your 60s. The one that the best is that base rookie. And I don't want to, base kind of is like such a degrading term these days, but it's a base card, right?
Yep. It really is. That's what it is.
Base rookie of the legends in high grades.
What's funny, we call it a base card, but that's all the cards were. Like there was nothing else in packs. until much more recently, you know, the mid to late 90s, right? 93 was the advent of the refractor. You know, the Topps gold card, you know, came out in the 90s also, you know.
Might I add, the design of that refractor is beautiful. The 93 finest. Whatever happened, whatever drugs they started taking from 92 to 93, the little LSD, to really jazz it up. I think it was well done.
So that Gretzky O-Pee-Chee, it is a base card. You're right, but every card that was made that year was a base card. There is a Topps version of it also. The O-Pee-Chee sells for more. It's they're both pretty rare. It IPO'd on Collectable, $10 a share, 6,700 shares at $67,000. It has been significantly higher than that. You know, getting up as high as 33 and change, triple. It ended this past week on Friday at $15 a share, which is just over $100,000 market cap, basically $100,000, and you now have a comp at 144. So that's an interesting thing. Okay, what I would like for you to do though, because it's amazing that you start us off with, and we'll get to the data, we'll get to the numbers, we'll get to stuff. But there's one thing I need you guys to know about when you're listening to this. I don't want you to wait too long, right? Can you do me a favor on there? Just pull up Ali WBC. Just type that in and it will pop up. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background on this particular item that Andrew's going to pull up. I want you to put your attention on the Muhammad Ali WBC championship belt. All right. This belt was given to Ali allegedly. All right. What's the market cap on this one right now, by the way? Because this IPO'd at 4 and change. The market cap on this one is $300,000. It's like $299, I think, right? So $300,000 is the market cap, right? So the WBC belt was not given out until 1976. I want to make sure everyone is aware of that, okay? Because it's a little bit of a misnomer. This was the belt that Ali won in the Rumble in the Jungle. All right, I want to make sure everybody knows that fight. 1974, he beat George Foreman. It's huge if you watch the Ali movie. If you know anything about his career, it was the fight. He was supposed to lose to Foreman, went to Africa. I mean, just an amazing fight, a huge thing. He did not get this belt, however, that night. It's not what you think. See a Rocky movie, they put the belt around. What you see now, someone runs into the ring and puts a belt around. The WBC did not start giving out belts until 1976. So this belt was awarded to him, yes, for winning the championship in 1974 at the Rumble in the Jungle, and it's been kind of phrased as the belt he won in the Rumble in the Jungle, but it was given to him in 1976. There are 2 of these belts. This one on Collectable happens to be the nicer one. The gold is not tripped away at all. You can see the gold. It's perfect. It's got great provenance from Clay's father, Cassius Clay, from Clay Sr., right? It's got letters. It's got all kinds of provenance. It was in the Immortals collection. It is an amazing piece that was it's one of 2 WC belts. He held the belt until 1978. I think he lost to Leon Spinks in 78. Just an impressive run. I believe over that time from 1976 to 78, WBC gave out about 20 belts total to all of the champions. Again, only 2 for Ali here. This is 1. The other belt has a little bit of a actually chip on the gold, a little bit of like the gold foil, the gold leaf, a little bit off of it. And it previously sold a couple of times. It sold for $358,000. And then I think most recently in Leland sold for like $170,000 approximately, $200,000 less. So it in line basically with this $299,000 comp. All right. I want to make sure everybody understands.
I have a feeling that something good's coming.
While
your buildup is incredible.
I'm sorry. While this is the belt that he won for his legendary 1974 Rumble in the Jungle. Go ahead.
Ali's Rumble in the Jungle belt, hand inscribed, provenance owned by provenance from Muhammad Cassius Clay Sr.
Yep.
The nicer one because the gold isn't chipping away. Okay.
Correct. So you're up there now.
These in the world.
But obviously the last one at Leland sold for less than this. All right. Heritage had a humongous auction that ended over the weekend. The Ali stuff ended last night. Right. And in it were some amazing items. His walkout robe from his first fight with Frazier. There were Type 1 photos. I picked up one myself. I showed you a picture of it. From his earliest fights, his Gold Glove fights, the Olympic torches that were used in 1960, 1984. I mean, just amazing collection that somebody had put together of this stuff. And wouldn't you know it, the other version of this belt was there. And when the auction ended Maine, it was about $360,000 plus buyer's premium, which would put it over 400, 420, 425, 430, which would be a lot higher than this 300. But here's the thing. Extended bidding didn't end until 4 in the morning this morning. It was fun watching that. Obviously a bidding war that was ultimately won by somebody who fits the description that you talked about, those guys who like to buy things and show off. A billionaire, Jim Irsay, the owner of the Colts, won the other belt. And he paid $6 million for it. $6 million for the other copy of this belt.
Dude, content team,
This
go
one-
back. We've talked about this belt before. So we don't know memorabilia like that. But it's one of those where it just takes one buyer. This $6 million.
$6 million.
Yeah.
Just do me a favor. Just put in Google right now, Jim Irsay belt. And you will see it's on every major. I was hoping it wasn't him. I was hoping it ended for
This
$1
one
million.
is at
And
300K.
I could come here and tell you guys, hey guys, there's an opportunity because this ended at 400, 500, 600. I was tweeting about it, and Collectable actually retweeted my tweet last night before Irsay got involved in the extended and just blew this thing into insanity. Right? It was in the 6 figures, and then it just went crazy, just bidding like nuts. So now what you have here is you have a new price discovery, you have a new price point for the other one of these. There are 2. And if you look at the picture of the one on Collectable and look at the picture of the one that Irsay just bought, you can see the gold off of it. You can see the gold pieces scratched off of his. This is, I believe, and it's just my own personal opinion, a nicer version with impeccable provenance by comparison, because that Irsay one, while it was in the Bundini collection, it was actually in a storage locker that wasn't paid for. And it was like in one of those like Storage Wars auction kind of deals. That's where there's all of this Ali stuff. So, I mean, just crazy story.
300K on Collectable. It's
300K. It is 20 times that last night is what it sold for. So you guys, when I say be excited if you have money on this platform, I imagine that people who know about this, and there's going to be more people who know about it than usual, because look, if it ended for a couple $100,000 over, we could come on and tell you. But this is every major news outlet picked up this story. It is all over the place. Jim Irsay, he's got a traveling memorabilia roadshow, not just sports, rock and roll, NASA, you've got all kinds of stuff. And he came on and basically said, yeah, I bought this and I'll have it in time for the next couple of shows in August and whatnot, that I'll bring it to Chicago. I'll bring it to Indianapolis. So it'll be on display. So amazing. I mean, a significant premium. And I feel bad for the guy who sold it, or the woman who sold it in Leland's in 2017, because it originally was bought for $350,000, then sold for $170,000, and now sold for $6 million. The last person who sold this actually lost money on it, and then it goes for $6 million. It's a crazy story. It's one we don't see that often. We have seen items on Collectable explode like this when you have a comp, when you have something, but this is one where it's a 1-to-1 comparison. It is pretty, well regarded that there are only 2 of these out there. I don't love that it's the belt he won the Rumble in the Jungle, right? Because they didn't give this to him. This belt was never in Africa. This was given to him in 1976, a full 2 years after that fight. But it is the belt that he earned by winning that fight. That's when he became the champ. This is the belt for that. It's a little bit of a misnomer, right? But I mean, it's technically correct. This is the belt he won in that fight.
In the hobby, we sweep that under provenance.
Yeah, I mean, well, you're not going to find a video of that fight and someone coming to the ring with this belt and putting it around his waist and saying, here you go, Dana White, putting the UFC belt on somebody at the end of the fight. You're not going to see that, because this belt, WBC did not start giving out belts until 1976. So it's just important. Also, I think it's 78, they stopped giving out these green belts and started giving out the more common black version. So there are not a lot of these belts out there for any of the champs. And like I said, about two. You could take a look at this. I mean, I'm telling you, there are articles all over the internet on this stuff, and it's pretty crazy. The one on Collectable, it's been owned by by its owner, the Sports Immortals guy, since I think 1989 or something like that. So it's almost unquestioned authenticity and provenance. Bought by him from Clay Senior. So just a really cool thing, a really cool story. And if you didn't see any of these articles, it's exactly what this episode is supposed to bring to you guys before the opening bell, to know about this type of, amazing comp, new sale, just, blowing it into the stratosphere, 20x of what its market cap is right now on Collectable. Extraordinary opportunity for anybody who holds this. I guess what I would tell you, if you have shares of this and you had it for sale, maybe you want to take those shares off the market. Don't let them go too cheap. So anyway, it's one of those kind of things. It was the one that I couldn't wait to talk about today. There's a lot of other cool stuff. To talk about that. What do you think? Ali is the greatest.
First, real quick, I gotta say thanks to Collectable. Couldn't be more excited for the Cigar Night event. 50 episodes we've partnered with them, so thank you all you guys for listening. Thank you, Collectable, for believing in us. I think Ali is a G. Ali is revered.
We call people the GOAT. His nickname is the greatest. I mean, he is the greatest, right? So that's kind of
people look through the data real quick, Cage, and then we'll.
Well, I mean, I didn't look at it yet, but I have a feeling what we told people last week. Look at the stuff that was down, and that usually becomes the stuff that's up.
A little bit more than usual. So Lewis Hamilton card, Cage, it was down last week.
The number one decliner last week, down 70%. We said, hey, guys, look at the number one decliner. It's usually the number one increase. So what happened this week?
Up 335%. But we've been doing this for a while. That's the most we've ever seen.
That's insane.
And
because now it's higher than its IPO.
Right. And same with the Kobe 02 game worn and signed sneakers. They were down last week. Here we go. 58%, up 114%. So.
And the Ovechkin Cup 4-color was down 50% last week and up 170% this week. So tried and true once again. So why don't we tell people what the biggest ones down this week are? This way they can see whether or not they ride that kind of.
Ozzie Smith, very interesting. The 1979 Topps rookie BVG 95. You could talk about that. That's out of my arena. Bellinger, I can't believe that he's still on the Collectable platform. But there was a point, Cage. He was an MVP, down 80% for his Bowman Chrome Orange Refractor. And then Sidney Crosby, game worn and signed Winter Classic skates photo match. That's interesting. That's one I could see having a nice bounce back.
Yeah, down 56%. The Ozzie Smith, I got to tell you, there's not a lot of 10s out there, but I think this is really more of an indictment of, obviously there's no week-to-week movement on this. It's not a very liquid asset. Somebody took their money out. I think part of the issue with this is, I love Beckett for certain things. Vintage baseball cards is not one of them, and this happens to be in a BVG holder. And I don't think.
Why would that happen the week that Collectable and Beckett's PWCC and Beckett had a partnership?
Well, so does Collectable. Collectible's doing a bunch of events, including, the Wednesday night kickoff and a bunch of other things with Beckett. But, Beckett's got a new regime, new branding, new stuff. They're doing a bunch of new things. Their BVG baseball slabs are not they're not usually something that anybody pays a premium for. I think that's probably indicated in this particular item. Although if you look at the card, it's a very nice card. I mean, it's a very Ozzie Smith 79s they're very rare in
He's the one that managed the White Sox too, right?
No, that's Ozzie Guillen. Ozzie Smith is the Wizard of Oz. He played for the Cardinals. Pretty cool. You don't share it now because I don't want to get copywritten, but Ozzie Smith was he didn't dance in the dugout. He didn't wear his hat backwards, but he would go out onto the field and do a flip and a cartwheel. And he would go out to his position at shortstop and just he was crazy, very athletic. And, you could take a look at it yourself, just the Wizard of Oz, gymnastics basically out onto the field. If you want to pull that up on YouTube and check that out. Another
Real
one,
quick,
yeah,
one more I want to bring up before
Yep.
I popcorn to you and you take it home. There's only a certain amount of time where a good asset that doesn't have good public sentiment will be beat up, and that's the Durant.
Yep.
We know all the narratives with Durant, but after a while, they're already priced in.
Yep.
You know, and his card, his Topps Chrome rookie card from '07 was, I believe it's a refractor, was
Yep.
was down 20%, 8%, 9%, 10%, 16%. So at a certain point, you're just like, okay, buy the dip. He's you know all the things.
It's back to the comps. It's back
Yeah.
to it's. We've talked about this card many times. The reason why it's been down the last 5 weeks is because the comps were lower than where it's at. People are bringing this down to the comps, and now at the $9,400 market cap, it's now in line with recent sales. This is an item where, as we move towards basketball season, and we find out where Durant's going to be, whether it's with the Nets and they're bolstering it up, and you start to hear some great stuff about Ben Simmons or whatever the rumor mill is going to be, or if he's traded to a team and on a contender, and the comps start to go to 11, 12, maybe not 25 like they were last summer when we were talking about this card, but they go to 12, 13, 14, this becomes a bargain at $9,400 market cap. So I understand what you're saying. It's kind of finding a floor, and usually, a little bit of a bounce off the floor depending upon what happens. Maybe not this week, maybe not next week, but yeah, I'd be surprised to see it continue the downtrend now that the market cap on Collectable has caught up with recent comps. You can say the same thing, by the way, for talk about another asset, Tom Brady, right? I mean, that's 6 of the last 8 weeks has been down. I'm talking about the 2000 contenders Tom Brady BGS 9 basket. That's the one with 2 BGS 9s. Current trading price of $130,000, which basically is $65,000 for each card. The most recent sales, it was an $84,000 in April, a $78,000 in June. So it's a little lower.
Gun to your head. Sorry to cut you off, Cage.
Yeah, please.
What do you think about my 2 purchases of the gold PSA 10s?
I love them.
Really?
Yeah, everybody loves gold, man. Everybody loves gold, and even though at first blush I can't tell what years they are or what the numbering is, because Topps Chrome and the Topps golds are different numbers, different products, different years. I don't know if it's out of 10, out of 50, out of 100, out of 500. Who the heck knows? It doesn't matter. It's Brady and it's gold. I think there's going to be demand for that.
I think Brady's got another run in him.
I don't think he's going to win a championship this year, but I think his team will be very good. I think he'll have a lot of wins. I think there'll be some talk about it. And as he continues to play, if you remember, he and Drew Brees were kind of going back and forth with touchdown records, kind of, you name it. He's playing at a very high level, an MVP caliber level, and he's still amassing stats that will make it even harder for anybody to come and catch him. You know what I mean? You got to remember, the beginning of his career, take a look at his stats for his first bunch of years. Not just that he wasn't playing, right? But
he wasn't putting up big numbers till the Randy Moss years.
It was a different game.
Yeah.
It was a different game, I mean, nobody put up numbers like they're putting up now. So some of these guys are going to be putting up those numbers for a long time. I don't know how many of them are going to play for 23 years. That becomes the interesting part about it. So I think it's important because he's basically extending his legacy now from a personal standpoint. You said it last year also. Now he wants to go out there and set records. You thought last year he would set the touchdown record, the passing record, the whole deal. And he had a hell of an individual year. It might have been his best year from an individual standpoint. So, he goes out there and does that again. People gave LeBron a lot of credit for having the season he had at 37 years old, putting up those individual stats, even though his team won less than half their games. Brady's team's going to win more than half their games, and he's going to be putting up amazing stats at 45 years old, or however old he is, 44 years old. So, interesting stuff. I think Brady, he's, with the recent, downturn on his stuff, he's becoming one of the more safe buys because, yes, there's upside. If he happens to go on a crazy run or win an 8th Super Bowl and another MVP, you name it. But I don't think it matters. I think the downside is so minimal for him because, I mean, there are not many folks out there who are an undisputed GOAT in their sport, let alone ones who are still playing. So it's interesting.
Ali, Brady, Durant.
Oh, I
Kobe.
thought you were gonna say. I thought you were saying people who were goats. Ali,
No.
sure. Brady, sure. Then you went Durant. I was like, what is he talking about? Durant's not a goat.
Lewis Hamilton. What else you got for us before we take it home and wrap up?
Well, interesting item, right? Golden had a recent comp. You guys know I know this card well. It's the Joe Montana rookie card. Recent one sold in Golden for 73.2. Last week, the one on Collectable was down 15%, down to 65. So it's now, basically 10% off of the recent comp, and that comp is in line, if not a little lower than other recent comps. So
I think there was a few comps in the 90s.
Yeah,
80s,
definitely.
90s.
One very nice copy sold, I believe, about $100,000 also. So, that's a recent comp with obviously some of the stuff, coming down a bit. It's definitely interesting stuff. I mean, those were the ones, that stuck out for me. Obviously, I wanted to talk to folks about that Ali belt because that's the kind of thing that just it doesn't happen. And it's one of those things, right? If you look at the chart, that belt is at like I think $7 a share. And it was in the fours a couple weeks ago. So, there are people like, oh, fractional, there's no real liquidity. If you're patient enough and you're buying quality assets, and we've talked about that belt. Like you and I have talked about that belt as something that people should be looking at. It does show, an example of, how fractional can work. There were two of these that would ever become available. If you didn't want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get the other one, this was now your only option. It's going to be even harder now because you're not going to be able to get the one from Jim Irsay that he just spent $6 million on. This now becomes the only game in town. So this is, I believe, a prime example of what fractional is about. It's interesting stuff. It really is. As far as other like item stuff, just from the, just the stuff, the one thing that stuck out at me, if you're looking at vintage, I think we're going to all be going to the National this week. And, people are looking at baseball vintage. They just are. People looking at mantle cards, people looking at, baseball vintage cards, the card ladder indexes and all those things. That's kind of the only one that's been steady / up a little bit. One thing that stuck out at me was the 1956 Topps PSA 8 mantle basket, the one that has two PSA 8 mantles in it. That IPO'd at $5 a share, 5,700 shares, which puts it at a 28.5 valuation, $14,000 approximately each one. Last week, it hit, I believe it's low in secondary trading, down from $450 a share to $375 a share. So we're talking about this one down, approximately, 25% from the IPO price. And this is, an early year, 5th-year mantle, two of them in high grades. Nice looking card. I don't know if you wanted to take a look at that one. It's odd to see, vintage going up. Maybe just this was one somebody, liquidating, somebody, taking their stuff out of this one, trying to move it into something else. But we don't see a lot of, vintage stuff, especially not mantle from the 50s in high grade like this, going down like this one did. So that was one of the ones that kind of stuck out to me. Anything else you want to talk about, like the IPOs, the early access, that kind of stuff? I can do that too if you want, because there's a bunch of cool stuff coming out. IPOs this week, we still have the Carlton Fisk Waves It Fair in the in-app early access from Game 6. We still have the 2016 LeBron James game-worn photo match jersey. There's shares remaining of the 49 Bowman Jackie Robinson PSA DNA 8. There's only 6% of that remaining. The Mike Eruzione Team USA gold medal, it looks like there's still 10% remaining on that. And the Steph Curry Topps gold rookie is about half sold. It's about 44%. Early access, an interesting one. Nolan Ryan, 68 Topps rookie and PSA 8.5. Nice card, about 20% retained. It's out there at a market cap of 24.8. Recent comps on this are
Not
right around.
dominant. Not dominant is what I heard about him.
What, Nolan Ryan? I mean, he, for the longest time, was the only relevant pitcher in the hobby.
But
He never won what?
Well, like he never really won. His win-loss record, it was
I mean,
average.
he has more strikeouts than anyone who's ever played the game. He has more no hitters than anyone who's ever played the game. I mean, any pitcher, you name any dominant pitcher you want, no one has the strikeouts and the no hitters that he has. So he was dominant. He just happened to play. I mean, he was on the Mets for a little while. At 69, he was on the Mets. I mean, it didn't really count. He wasn't really doing much. It was his second year. But
324 and 292 Nolan Ryan win-loss record.
I mean, the guy pitched until he was in his 40s. So, the record's, about a 500 record towards the end there. But, yeah, I mean, amass stats was still throwing, 100-mile-an-hour fastball at 40 years old. An impressive player, just, a lot of heat. And it made for some great commercials. I think he did Advil commercials because, when you're throwing a 100-mile fastball when you're in your 40s, you need a pain reliever. I'm pretty sure he did some Advil commercials. Yeah, I mean, so just fun stuff, right? Guys, also just for Collectable, take a look over at if you're going to be at the National, or even if you're not, you want to check it out. Beckett and Collectable have, announced that they're kind of teaming up for a bunch of different events at the National as well. Networking events, you name it. You can read the press release. Obviously, I believe the first night, Wednesday, the event will be at with Cigar Night is a collaborative effort. They're also doing, a bunch of other, events with Beckett at the National. One of the cool things is if you happen to be going to, the National itself, stop by Collectibles booth. They're going to have a pretty cool Murderer's Row display, which is, the Yankees lineup of Gehrig and Ruth. And I believe they're going to have both cards on display, the Gehrig exhibit and that Babe Ruth that we talked about. The red border was the Baltimore News, I think, right? The Baltimore News one. So that one will be on display. I mean, you're talking about, multi-million-dollar cards there, which is pretty cool. That's part of the reason the National is the National, right? You don't get to see items like that ever. So they will be at the booth at Collectable. So you can, stop by if you're going to be there and check those out. Any parting shots, my friend? I know you got to be tired.
Let's get ready for National. The week starts tomorrow. Love you, Luca Nation.
So thank you all for listening to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronzo My. I wanted to tell you about a new service that we have starting as of today, and I'm really, really excited to bring it to you guys. So as a part of our partnership with SGC, we got 50 free submissions every single month, and many of you have taken advantage of that. And it's amazing that we could have the opportunity to 650 episodes, 675 episodes in, to go ahead and give back to our community. As people were sending those cards in, they asked, can we send 5, 10, 20 more cards to you guys? We'll pay for it, but we wanted them graded with SGC. You guys know SGC is turning cards around in 13 to 14 business days, have incredible customer service, and their secondary market values are going up day after day after day. And that's exciting for the hobby and exciting for the grading landscape. So we didn't want to just rush into it. We wanted to do it right. And what we did was I relocated here to Boca Raton, Florida. I opened up a P.O. box maybe 5 minutes away from SGC, and I will be hand delivering and hand picking up the cards. So you don't have to worry about anyone else touching your cards. It will be me, and I will update you every step of the way. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to personally pick up the cards from a P.O. box, prep them, new card saver, new penny sleeve, and deliver them to SGC every single Tuesday. Why Tuesday? Well, it lets the stragglers over the weekend come back through on Monday and gives me a day to prep, and it basically gives SGC the entire week to work on grading those cards. Once your cards pop, only then at the end of the process will you be paying for the service. It's $25 per card, simple as that, and the turnaround times have never been faster. We're hearing right now 13, 14, less than 20 business days. So there it is. 9170 Glades Road, Number 135 is the P.O. Box in Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. 9170 Glades Road. Number 135, Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. Of course, you could shoot me an email or shoot me a text anytime, and I'm always available. Many of you already have my email. It's iamandrewgoldberg@gmail.com, or my cell phone number, 215-519-9154. Reach out with any questions. I could walk you through the process. I've hopped on the call with quite a few of you, and I'm happy to do that. Love you, Luca Nation.